Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. We decided to start our video with a Karen story. What could be better? So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. Want to take away our job perks? Good luck with that. The company I was working for had a fair number of people that traveled almost exclusively. So while it was a fairly small company, it may be 100 people on staff, across everyone, I'd guess we would have about 12 to 15K nights in a hotel and over 1 million flight miles per year. That worked out quite well for everyone because they racked up a lot of rewards with hotels and airlines, so their vacations ended up costing them basically nothing. In addition to that, the company's policy was that you booked and paid for your own travel, then submitted a request to get reimbursed. So quite a lot of people were also getting insane rewards from their credit card companies as well. It was considered a perk of the job, even to the point that HR would mention it when recruiting people. And it helped people put up with some of the other BS policies they didn't like. Enter new controller. Let's call her Karen. Karen decides that the company is losing money and implements a new reimbursement system where everybody gets company cards that they use so the company gets all the CC rewards. On top of this, they also partner with a travel agency that everyone has to use to book their flights, hotels, and rental cars. The idea is that since all the money and bookings are now in the company's name, the company gets to keep all the rewards. This is all great for the company, but it sucks for all the employees because this had formerly been one of the top perks. It's like each employee got a several $1,000 pay decrease. Cue malicious compliance. I expect our CEO was like a lot of CEOs, that he had an assistant that booked all of his travel and just sent him an itinerary so he knew what flight to get on, where to pick up his rental, and what hotel to check into. Similarly, when things don't go his way, he's not one wanting for details, he just wants it fixed ASAP. So the admin assistant started following the procedures to the letter. CEO ends up getting stuck with crapbox cars, crappy hotel rooms, and stuck in coach class because the system either has limits on what choices can be made or wants to use reward points to book, and you can't use those types of rewards for the flights, hotels, etc. that he's used to. Additionally, when he'd run into problems, he'd call his assistant, and she'd tell him she would have to call the travel agent to see what was wrong, and this would invariably occur outside business hours, so it'd take a day to get an answer. If memory serves, that policy change lasted all of 30 days before the CEO walked into the controller's office, told her it was for crap, and directed that everything should be put back exactly the way that it was. After that, I know of at least a handful of people that ended up taking the CEO's assistant out for dinner/drinks as a thank you for helping get things back to normal. And our second story. Ask you what to do and never just do something? Okay, prepare for 1 million questions. I've had the same job for 2 years now in a flower shop. I've worked with almost the exact same coworkers, done the exact same job 5 days a week, so I'm pretty confident that I can make certain judgment calls on what to do when I'm not faced with 100 unprocessed flowers. Even coming back to work after over 2 months of quarantine barely changed my confidence. My supervisor seemed to disagree. All names changed for privacy. After I'd finished making rose bouquets for the floor, there wasn't much else to do other than tying and packing the leis, Hawaiian flower necklace, that just came in, or wait for my boss to come back from his meeting to know what else he wanted prepped for the sales floor. Obviously, I started tying leis. My supervisor, Cheryl, almost immediately stopped me and asked what I was doing. After I responded, she said, "We don't need those yet, so don't do those. Just wait for me to tell you what to do next time, or ask me before you do anything." Anything? Yes, anything. I shrug, shuffle my feet, and decide to have some fun. I ask her what she needs done, and she wants me to tie a different type of lei. Okay, deal. I tie the leis. Do you want me to pack these or do something else? She looks at me like I'm stupid, then tells me to pack them. What container do you want them in? The same they always go in. Go figure. I pack them. Do you want me to leave these on this table or put them on the floor? Leave them on the table. Okay, so what should I do next? And so on with almost every variety of lei we carry. At one point, she asked me to pack the dyed orchid leis, but put some in smaller containers for a specific store so we don't have to repack them from the medium container later. So, do you have like a specific number in mind? 3 of each, 10 total, specific numbers for each color? I knew at that moment I got her, because it was like the light had left her eyes as she told me 3 of each, which is what we usually do. She hasn't given me any flack since then whenever I find something for me to do. And our third story. Filling a hanger with foam. I heard this one from a fire sprinkler contract on one of my job sites. Cast. Foreman. Foreman for the fire sprinkler contractor. Owner rep. Guy representing the owner, making sure the hanger is completed as the owner desires. He thinks he knows more than he does. The foreman and his crew were working on installing a foam fire suppression system in a new hangar. The system consisted of 8 foam generators mounted in the ceilings of the hangar, a diesel pump that would supply several hundred gallons of water to the system every minute, and 6 500-gallon tanks that held the foam solution. When the water and foam mixed in the foam generators, the foam would expand 200 times its original volume. When a system like this is completed, the system would be tested. This is never a full test of the full capacity of the system. That would use all the foam, but a small test to assure the functionality of the system, usually 100 gallons of foam or so. For this occasion, the owner rep came in and demanded a full triggering of the system. The foreman told the owner rep that they typically only do a short test. The owner rep replied, "Do you know how many millions of dollars of planes will be in this hangar? These systems are always fully tested. I want a full test and I want you to do it now." He tried to explain to the owner rep again, but the owner rep would have none of it. Luckily, the foreman had the forethought to write up a quick statement that the owner rep had ordered a full test, and the owner rep gladly signed it. The foreman and the owner rep proceeded to go up to the control room of the hangar to watch the test. The foreman then instructed one of his workers to do a full trigger on the system. When he did, the diesel water pump fired up and started pumping hundreds of gallons of water to the foam generators, along with the foam solution, and the foam starts pouring into the hangar and filling the hangar. On a normal test, the hangar will only usually fill to about 10 feet deep, but they did not do a normal test. Soon the foam was rising up the large glass window on the control room, which was about 20 feet above the floor. The owner rep starts panicking and telling the foreman to stop the test. The problem with this is that with a large pump supplying such large quantities of water to feed the system, you can't just shut a valve and stop the water flow. This will blow out the pipes and do significant damage to the pump. So the worker who triggered the system now has to go to the pump building to shut off the pump. But this does not shut off the water flow, as there's still pressure coming from the city water system, and it'll still flow through the pump even when it's turned off. So the worker then has to go back to the hangar and start shutting off the 8 large valves to the foam generators. This all took a few minutes, in which the hangar is still filling with more and more foam. When they finally get the system shut down, the hangar is full to the roof with foam, as well as the attached brand new office area, complete with carpet and furniture. Normally, the doors to any office areas are sealed for these tests, but the owner rep wanted the test now and did not give them time to properly seal the doors prior to the test. So now they had a hangar full of foam, an office full of foam, and 6 empty 500-gallon foam tanks. A few days later, the owner's rep's boss came to the hangar and demanded to know why they performed a full triggering of the system. The foreman then pulled out the piece of paper that he had the owner rep sign that he wanted a full test. The boss left with no further questions. They never saw the owner rep again on that job. Just for refilling the 6 50-gallon foam tanks, the bill was close to $150,000. The office area had to be fully cleaned as well. And our last story. Dad's Revenge. This happened about 20 years ago, and I was told the story by my mom later on. Background. 25 to 30 years ago, the first computer-related college program started popping up. Dad thusly got his degree, started a family with Mom, got a job, and started doing the young family thing. A U.S. company headhunted him and offered to bring us all over. My parents said, "Yes, please," so we left everything and everyone behind. Now, his job at the time was given heaps of notice, and he quit on good terms with everyone, training up the new guy and generally not making any waves. As part of his contract, he was told he'd be given X amount extra at the end of the year. It was a bonus or severance package or something similar. I mentioned my parents were a young family, straight out of college with 2 kids already. They had no savings. They were counting on this money to make the transition to America easier. Dad's commute was 2 hours each way from where they got us our housing, so Mom was left with 2 small kids, no husband, and suddenly no family or friends for support. The bonus had to be signed off by one of the few guys in the pecking order above Dad. There was maybe 3, the head boss and 2 others by seniority. He just said no. He got to say no because Dad was leaving his job in November instead of December when the payout would have been automatic. He benefited because that left more money in the bonus fund for the rest of them. The majority of the trip and move was sponsored by the new job, but Mom was left with a shoestring budget and no support for her first 4 months in a foreign country. Looking back, it was extremely hard on her. So onwards and upwards. Dad's a whiz at his computer-related sorcery, and he's jumped companies and moved up the totem pole. The company wants to add more underlings to his department. He's not like the head of the department, but his team is performing the best, and he's won them a few huge contracts, so they ask him to help review applicants. Guess who applied? The guy that shafted my parents just because he could. Dad's current company is one of the top ones, so their denial of the greedy dude's application screwed him over for a few other positions at similar companies. You're not supposed to talk, but people do, and they didn't want someone else's reject. He ended up at a startup eventually, making far less than he would have had he gotten a position at my dad's company. Being a D to my dad set back his career at least 10 years because he had to start all the way over again and prove himself from the bottom up. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.